So I want to welcome Career Launch to join us today, and I'm excited. I was able to attend their session at COE, and I thought that this might be something that could be super valuable to our Oregon Trio membership and for our students, and especially given the CPPs that the different pre-college and college programs have around careers. I thought that could be really helpful, especially as we plan. We've already done the SSS writing, but now as we plan the talent search writing in case that CPP comes back up in some other form, to know about the options that you all could provide in that realm as well. So I want to go ahead and turn it over to our Career Launch friends that have joined us today for introductions. And just please, for everyone joining, to please stay on mute unless you have a question, just so we don't get the background noise for the recording. Thank you all so much. Welcome.
Thank you, Robin. And hello, everyone. Thanks for having us today. We're excited to see you and meet you and also share with you a little bit about this Career Launch programming. And I know some of you might have been in Alaska for the regional one. Thumbs up if you were out of state. Nice. I see a couple people. I hope you had a good travels. And yes, for context, we had a chance to meet Robin at COE because of a national partnership we have with the Pell Institute. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. And we're actually going to be sharing some visuals with you all here momentarily. So let me share my screen, and we welcome people to use the chat and also ask questions in the chat so that after we provide a bit of an overview, we'll have time for some Q&A and discussion as well. So thumbs up, y'all can see my slides okay? Beautiful. All right. So I briefly wanted to introduce myself and my colleagues, Lori and Johnny, who are joining us today. Today's kind of focus of the overview and presentation is how we are partnering with TRIO programs, both pre-collegiate and collegiate, to empower them to strategically increase professional connections, AKA social capital, and how that can help their career readiness. And so a little bit about myself and my background. I am calling in from San Francisco, California, and I'm a first-gen college graduate myself. I was not part of TRIO, but I was part of AVID and my first-gen program at my college. And my background and education is in the civil engineering space. I decided to pursue civil engineering without talking to a civil engineer prior to that, and also not having any civil engineering connections in the field to help get my foot in the door for internships and jobs. And so, long story short, my connection to this program was that I went through it as a college student myself and was able to land my first internship in construction because of a career conversation I had, which will explain how this idea of career conversations is really the core to our programming. So since then, it's been a real pleasure to collaborate with many TRIO programs for them to embed this programming. And so as we move forward, I also just wanted to create some space to introduce my colleague Lori, who oversees our 4-year space, and my colleague Johnny, who oversees the community college space. So maybe Lori, I'll pass it to you, and then Johnny.
Thanks, Marielle. Great to be with you all today. Thanks for joining the call. So I'm the Director of Partnerships here at Career Launch and came from Seattle Pacific University, where I was the director of the Career Center. And that's where I first heard about Career Launch probably 4 years ago now, because Seattle Pacific had changed pretty dramatically demographically, going from being a predominantly white institution to being 55% diverse and 40% first gen. And so I was looking for new resources through an equity lens and came across Career Launch. And we'll be talking through some of the resources, but particularly the Career Launch workbook, which some of you may have seen around town. And so I began using that in pre-internship courses and had great results with students. They were just developing relationships with professionals that they had no connection to. We'll talk more about that during our time today. And ended up rolling this out with business students, computer science, engineering, some psychology, and then also retooled a career development course that we had on the books that was open to students. And I just expanded that to be open to every student because I felt like this was the best that I could give my students before they left the institution. And it really leveled the playing field among students. So happy to share more about that as we go through. And I'll toss it over to my colleague, Johnny.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for having us. Johnny Conley, I'm a first-generation college student as well. I come from the higher education background. So before I joined the Career Launch team last year, I served as the equity director at Moore Park College, which is in Ventura County, in between LA County and Santa Barbara. In about 4 years, like Lori, I seen there was a need. I oversaw a lot of categorical programs, a lot of programs like TRIO, that a lot of our first-gen low-income Black and brown students, specifically undocumented students, had gaps, right, to how to build social capital. They didn't have a background or had family that could connect them to certain industries and employers. But I also had a vision to tie a work-based learning opportunity with their program of study prior to them completing their certificate or their associate's degree or before they transferred on. So I was able to work with instructional faculty and counseling faculty in the career services to bring Career Launch to the campus by piloting with certain programs across campus, veterans, foster youth, men of color, EOP&S students, et cetera, and plugged it into an internship course where the college was able to get FTSs and have a class. They had teeth in it where it had assignments, but also the students were able to gain those essential skills, those human skills that a lot of employers say that students, have gaps in, and were able to lead into paid internships as they were completing or as they were transferring on, had an opportunity to have those conversations. And I know Lori and I will take you through the curriculum step by step on how the impact that our students had. So thank you all. Look forward to our conversation this afternoon.
Thank you, Johnny and Lori. All right, y'all. So we're going to continue on and share with you a little bit more context and visuals here along the way. And so wanted to add our mission statement here. We at Career Launch are a social enterprise. And as you can see here, we have partners all across the country with the purpose to measure and increase students' career readiness at scale. And so we have a professional development training for staff members for them to also help the students increase their relationships with employers, which we call career-aligned social capital. And our focus is to partner with TRIO first-gen programs, but also many other areas too. So you'll see this for today's conversation, we'll be mostly focusing on our TRIO partnerships. And so at a glance, you'll see that we also have some national partnerships, which I mentioned, the Pell Institute, being one of them. We're embarking on actually a research study understanding the relationship between collegiate TRIO programs and career centers and seeing kind of what that currently looks like as well. Some of you may be familiar with NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers. We are a partner of theirs and one of our measurement tools, as well as the Gates Foundation in our high school division. And then HACU, the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities. And so I have a quick question for the group here. I would love for you to reflect about your TRIO students and drop in the chat a color that resonates the most. You see here a little smiley face spectrum. Where would you say the majority of your TRIO students fall when it comes to feeling comfortable, kind of both reaching out and having a career conversation with a professional? So this would be, maybe anything more than 5 minutes, either in person or virtual, with maybe a professional they know or have never met, say an employer of interest. So I'd like for you all to maybe hop to the chat and see kind of from your perspective, where would you say, we know you have a diverse set of students, you might have some introverts, extroverts. I'm seeing, I love some orange hearts, some red, some yellows. We'll give everyone an opportunity to chime in. And as people are chiming in, do want to acknowledge that we know that having students proactively reach out to professionals is often outside of their comfort zone and can be anxiety inducing. And so as we walk you through our programming, you'll see that we try to provide all the scaffolding and support for students to feel more comfortable and more in the yellow, light green zone. So thanks y'all for chiming into the chat. This is a question we ask students kind of before and after programming. And this visual that you see here is actually just a very high level overview of what myself, Lori, and Johnny will be walking you through. So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of the pre-college TRIO programs, and then Lori and Johnny will be addressing the collegiate TRIO programs. So you can see Explorer Social Capital is actually the one that many of our upward bound and talent search partners use, because the Launch Your Career one, which can also be used for high school students, but I would say mostly our collegiate partners implement. The difference is that the one on the left, the light blue one, they're having career conversations with professionals they know, and it's a lot more scaffolded and doing industry and career research. Whereas the one on the right is jotting down a list of companies they might want to work for, all the way through reaching out to employers of interest who they have no connection to. So you can see kind of how that students can transition from Explore to Launch. And so we'll walk you through the 8-step framework of each. And so in terms of how it's deployed and the modes of delivery that we'll briefly highlight in our time together today is that we actually purposely provide each student with a physical workbook that you see there on the left-hand side. And we know that in this day and age, many resources are fully virtual. We are not a platform. We have seen over the years that students like having a tangible hard copy workbook when it comes to this idea of working on their career readiness and reaching out to professionals. And so the way we've designed it is that's mapped to short microlearning videos that are about 3 to 5 minutes long. And we'll actually be able to show you a sneak peek of one a little bit later on. You'll then see here that there's classroom group coaching sessions. So many of our TRIO partners will embed this in Saturday academies, residential programs over the summertime, or in an after school capacity. Again, for more of the pre-college, Johnny and Lori can highlight what some collegiate TRIO partners have done to implement it. And the way this is formatted is that we will have TRIO staff members go through a 4-hour career launch training to be able to facilitate this programming with students. And then lastly, we have this measurement tool on the right-hand side, one for the high school students in partnership with Gates, and one for collegiate students that was done in collaboration with NACE. So I'm going to briefly walk you through the Explore Your Social Capital programming here, and just a quick gauge, thumbs up, or let us know in the chat if you're today representing a pre-collegiate TRIO program, whether Upward Bound, Talent Search. All right, I see a couple thumbs up. Thanks, y'all. All right, then it seems like we have a mix of both, but I'll be sure to be as concise as possible so we can walk you through both curriculums. So let me share my screen with this 8-step framework for y'all. Oops. Oh no, I lost my slides. Let's see. Here we go. Very good. All right, so the Explore Your Social Capital curriculum, step 1, students will be doing some reflection exercises in addition to pinpointing 3 industries of interest. And so from there, they're going to narrow it down to 1 industry and then explore 2 careers that they might want to learn about. And again, world is their oyster. We provide resources for them to really get exposure and learn about different things they might not have considered, or things they haven't been exposed to. And so once they've done some of this initial research, we'll then transition them to understand and do some exercises related to social capital. So we'll actually do relationship mapping exercises to understand who are the adults and professionals in my life, what we call strong, weak, and loose ties. And do I want to have a career conversation with my former soccer coach or my piano teacher from 3 years ago, or my neighbor, etc. So step 4 is students are actually embarking in a 6-day outreach strategy via email to schedule this career conversation. And then as we continue through the steps, you'll see that steps 5 and 6 are having students prepare for the career conversation. And then, that can be everything from how to make small talk, questions to ask, and also how to leverage this career conversation to turn it into something more, whether that's a referral, a summer job, a mentorship opportunity. We know that expressing gratitude and keeping a relationship strong is an important part of relationship building. So step 7 is having students send a thank you email and a handwritten thank you note a couple of days later. And lastly, step 8 is students are doing some reflection on what this experience was like, in addition to some supplemental chapters on resumes, cover letters, and a section on how to have college conversations too, which we know many of our TRIO Upward Bound Talent Search are exploring that as a pathway. And here is a sneak peek into what this physical workbook looks like. You'll see here that we have various question sequences, but here's an example of students having a structure to follow, and that would enhance their comfortability and confidence when having this career conversation with a professional. Lastly, before I pass it to my colleagues, just want to highlight this high school career readiness inventory. This is a powerful tool, again, co-created with the Gates Foundation, and its main purpose is to measure students on these 5 different areas, all the way through, personal and career reflection to job seeking skills, relationship building skills, etc. And so this could be really valuable data for pre-collegiate TRIO programs to understand where students are at, but to also design workshops, interventions, programming that can help students increase these as they're in high school. So it should only take about 10 minutes for them to complete this inventory. They can take it at orientation, at a workshop. And what will happen is that once they complete these questions, they'll receive this PDF report, which we call a roadmap. And it'll provide them with a customized report of how they scored in each of the framework categories that you see here, as well as personalized and customized recommendations and growth tips on how they can improve depending on how they scored. And so lastly, something you'll see that's kind of parallel to the NACE inventory, as well as that there's this robust data analytics package, which allows TRIO programs to segment the data in these 5 different categories by different demographic characteristics. And so you'll be able to see, wow, a lot of my TRIO students haven't gone on a field trip or haven't had a job shadowing opportunity, or they don't know what a resume is. And so maybe that can be a really good way to understand what kind of programming and support is needed. And so thank you, everyone. I know we'll be kind of sharing a lot of information in a short amount of time, but hopefully for our pre-college TRIO friends in the group, that gives you a good sense of what the curriculum is like. And as I transition it to my colleagues in the collegiate space, I'd like to take a moment to actually share with you a student testimonial from a TRIO partner that we have in Kentucky. So this is a brief video, but we get excited when we receive these because you're able to really see the impact from the student side.
Hi, my name is Pia Bartlett, and I attend Western Kentucky University as a freshman here on the Hill, and I love it. Go Tops. I just want to say that Career Launch has helped me feel confident in literally anything and every single aspect. I feel okay with being interviewed. I am okay with walking up to any business person, any job, and I feel ready to help excel my career. The Career Readiness course helped me to understand my strengths and weaknesses, how to interview people, and even how to email and reach out to people, and I just love it. And I hope that you should definitely try and experience it. They can help with so many different opportunities.
Great. And again, that was from our TRIO SSS partnership at Western Kentucky. So with that, I'll pass it to Lori and Johnny.
Thanks, Marielle. I always love hearing the student voice. As Marielle mentioned, when we get testimonial videos from students, it just kind of makes our day. I know you feel the same when you hear some feedback from a student. We don't always get feedback from a student, so it's nice when we do hear it from their own perspective. But I think I'm assuming you might feel like I do. When I was at Seattle Pacific University, I felt like I was making a big ask to have students reach out to professionals that they have no connection to. And I know that can be a really scary aspect for a student. And so that's why so many of us were in the dark orange or the orange area when we were putting in the chat, because yeah, this is going to be something that will require some initiative from students, and some bravery. But on the other hand, what I found when I was teaching Career Launch was that the tools and the resources inside the workbook were so easy to understand for the students, and they could walk through a process where they didn't have to question, should I send an email? Should I send a second email? What happens if I haven't heard back from a professional? So I think there's all sorts of ways that what I learned in teaching it was that I had been kind of offhandedly saying to students, hey, just reach out to someone, you know. And what I needed to do was I needed to actually teach it and give them many more steps along the way that could help them be successful in reaching out to professionals that they don't know. Because one of the things we've learned through research is that about 90% of students spend most of their time applying online. But there's only about a 2% success rate of getting an interview if you're just applying online. But if you have someone inside an organization that can advocate for you, then you're 12 times more likely to actually earn a position. And so that's the space that Career Launch sits in. And I just want to share a few things as we go through this that might help you think through, how could I bring this to my students? And in what way could this be helpful to them? So that's just a little bit about my story with Career Launch, but let me walk through the Career Launch method to get us started here on how Johnny and I have used this in the collegiate space. Wrong screen, hold on. And this Career Launch method is very similar to what Marielle shared from the high school space, but when we're talking about it being in the collegiate space, we're actually having students reach out to professionals that they don't have any connection to whatsoever. I thought this was a great process for my students, and when I was at Seattle Pacific. Similarly to the process that Marielle shared, every student receives a copy of the Career Launch workbook. At first, I was like, are we really using workbooks? But what I found is that students love the workbook. So 80%, 85% of students say they prefer it. And I believe that was true with the students that I was engaged with. Additionally, students in the collegiate space will also be receiving micro-learning videos, short bits of content that get distributed to them throughout the week. And that content maps to the content in the workbook. Additionally, we have a NACE Career Readiness Inventory, where students would take this as a pre and post as part of the TRIO cohort that they are in. And then anybody who is going to facilitate the sessions with the students. So that could be staff or faculty or whoever this could be. I know most of our TRIO programs are delivering this immersive experience in a cohort style. So most of our TRIO programs don't have access to the classroom, and they're doing it as a program outside of the classroom, which has been working fabulously for them. And in that way, I would say the most common way that people are delivering the immersive experience to TRIO students is in a 4-week process where they meet once a week for 45, 50 minutes with students over a total of 4 weeks. So once a week for 45 minutes for 4 weeks. So definitely doable in a cohort model. We just know, as I mentioned, students don't feel particularly confident reaching out to professionals they don't know. In fact, only 14% of students feel comfortable before they do Career Launch, but afterwards, 82% feel very comfortable reaching out to professionals. And that's what we want to see. And of course, we want them to make connections with alumni as well as they're going through the process. This is an interesting stat that just came out last month, and I was really surprised that 87% of employers said they hired at least one of their interns through an informal channel. It's higher than I thought it would be after all of these Indeed and Monster and all these places where students can look to get a job. Still 87% of employers are hiring students from a professional relationship. Really, the Career Launch method is meant to be a confidence building program for students so they can explore majors, career paths, they can develop internal advocates, and they can be invited to interviews for internships and jobs. And I've seen that happen with all of my students at Seattle Pacific. It's just true that most students don't realize only 20% of jobs and internships are actually advertised. At least 80% of jobs that most people don't even know about or have access to, and that includes students. So I just wanted to ask you all, when did you learn about the hidden job market? And maybe you can drop your answer in the chat. When did you realize that there was more to getting a job than just applying online or applying in some other way? When did you learn about the hidden job market? Anybody brave enough to drop that in the chat? Or a year ago via TikTok. Okay, Andres. Well, in grad school, yep. A lot of people find out about this in grad school. Grad school. That's great. Andres, I'd be interested in how you heard about it on TikTok.
Yeah, it was during one of those many times that I should be doing other things but scrolling. And there was a few people who were giving recommendations to others, and they were saying, specifically talking about Indeed and ZipRecruiter, and just speaking about how there's so much more than what's initially there, that you need to go to other places, talk to other people, make connections. And a lot of times when you see the application, like it's just out there to raise awareness and not really all the positions that you can find. So that led to me looking at their channel and then keep scrolling everything they had. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. I mean, TikTok's got some awesome career stuff on it, actually. And Ginger, I love this. Like, I really didn't realize this until now. It's not something that we really talk about often. So if you're not kind of in that career services side of the house, you may not have heard of this, but it's true. And so I felt like I wanted to make sure all of my students had access to the hidden job market. And the way to do that is to develop relationships with professionals. So let me share quickly. Johnny and I will toggle back and forth on this, but talking about the career launch method in terms of what's the 8-step framework inside the workbook that helps students develop those relationships with professionals and access that hidden job market. So step 1 is all about discernment. So we have a few exercises for the students in the workbook to go through. And at the end of step 1, the students will have identified a top 10 list of organizations where they might want to work or intern. And that list will change over time, of course, but it's a good starting point for students to start to think about, where might I want to work or intern?
Yeah, and step 2 is research. So over our 15 years of data, we have identified mid-level professionals are more likely to take on a career conversations from students. So here in this takeaway is we're helping students ethically identify 15 to 25 mid-level professionals of their top 10 companies.
And then for step 3, this is all about establishing a professional brand. And there's really 2 pieces in step 3. One is creating a basic LinkedIn profile. So not all the bells and whistles, just a basic profile. The second is creating a professional email signature, because we know from hearing from professionals who have been reached out to by a Career Launch student, they say that that professional email signature makes a big difference in whether or not they respond to the student. I would say steps 1, 2, and 3 are all about getting ready to reach out to professionals.
Yep. And when students are ready, now they're going to go on a 10-day outreach plan. And really here is really hammering down and playing the student card. As we know, society likes to help students more than non-students. They have that .edu email for a finite time. And this is the step that we talk about when the rubber meets the road. So as students are going through the 10-day outreach, they are charged to reach out to 5 mid-level professionals on a weekly basis until they get a yes. And in this step, we have templates for students that share with them what should be in the subject line, what should be in the body of the email when they pick up the phone, what they should be saying. So it's really a plug and play opportunity for students to get a yes for a 20-minute career conversation, not asking for a job interview and not asking for a internship interview.
And then when we get to, oh, my screen doesn't want to advance. Hold on, let me just stop sharing and reshare, and hopefully that will toggle it again. There we go. So after this, when the student has then got a yes from a professional that they will take a meeting with the student and for a 20-minute career conversation, now it's time for the student to get prepared for that career conversation. So step 5 is, what do I do? How do I send a calendar invite? What do I wear? What do I say? All of those things. What kind of questions do I ask? And then in step 6, we want to give some advanced preparation for students, because it's fairly common for a student to get in the middle of that conversation, even though they've only asked to learn about the professional's career path, that sometimes the professional will say, hey, are you looking for an internship this summer? Hey, are you looking for a job after you graduate? And we want the student to be ready in real time to respond to those questions and make the most of that time with the professional. Sorry, Johnny.
Don't worry, no, they're all good. No, so step 7 is career conversation, effective follow-up. After they've had that 20-minute career conversation, we reinforce the student to send a 24-hour thank you email early in the morning rather than in the afternoon or late on at night, to demystify that narrative that's, college students, are up all night and not handling their business in the morning, or even 2 or 3 days later, sending a thank you card or note. But in addition to that is how to keep that conversation and relationship building process ongoing. So in step 7, there's a 30, 60, 90-day process that we teach students on how to keep that conversation going and continue to develop those relationships as they're completing their degree or their program of study. And step 8 is really landing the job interview. We complement career services on college and university campuses. We don't focus on a resume and cover letter or interviews. However, we do have samples of that, but we really try to drive traffic to career services professionals on their respective campus. So here, I think on the next thing, we have a micro-learning video. So part of the immersive experience is little short videos that students get either text message and email to them. So we're going to show a clip of the very first video of the 12 videos that students will receive.
We are going to show it. Here we go. I'm not sure. Let me just reshare that because I want to make sure the sound comes through.
Oh, Laura, you can't see it. You can't see it.
You are a student and are likely attending school to one day find good.
Apologies, everyone. Here we go.
You are a student and are likely attending school to one day find a good job. And you're not alone. Research shows that the #1 reason why people pursue a college degree or certificate is to get a good job. Finding a good job helps you spend your time in a fulfilling way, where you learn new skills and work on something you care about. Also, the compensation from your job can enable you to live the lifestyle you want. The average professional spends 90,000 hours of their life at their career, which equates to 1/3 of your life being spent at work. So, the question is, do you simply want to get a job that helps you achieve your financial goals, or do you want to get a job that you will find fulfilling and helps you achieve your financial goals? The Career Launch program is here to help you enjoy the majority of those 90,000 hours. What is one of the best ways to learn about different types of jobs and careers? And also, what are the best ways to land internships, apprenticeships, and full-time jobs? The answer is simple, but will likely require you step out of your comfort zone. More than 90% of students spend most of their time trying to land an internship or job by applying online. What most students don't know is that the jobs posted online are only a small fraction of all jobs that are available. Only 20% of jobs are posted online. with the other 80% within the hidden job market, those found through word of mouth and referrals. To land these jobs, you need an internal advocate, or someone on the inside kind of looking out for you or creating an opportunity for you. Research shows that when you have an internal change advocate looking out for you, you're actually 12 times more likely to gain a job or internship. How do you find an internal advocate to help you land a job? The answer is through social capital. We all have existing social capital, people we know from the different areas of our life. You may already know some professionals through school, family, friends, or other social circles you're a part of. These are called strong, weak, and loose ties. Strong ties are people we know very well. Weak ties are people who you interact with less often or haven't seen in a long time. Loose ties are people who you haven't met but likely could be introduced to by a strong or weak tie. And no ties are those who you have no relationship to at all. Most students do not have relationships with employers. Don't worry. Career Launch will help you explore career paths, create these professional relationships from scratch within the organizations of interest, and access jobs and internships in the hidden job market.
You'll be supported every step of the way. You can take a readiness inventory, watch short microlearning videos like this one, use your physical Career Launch workbook, and attend class or group coaching sessions. At the end of the program, you will take the Career Readiness Inventory again to see how much progress you've made in your career development.
Want to learn how this program is helping students gain a competitive advantage? Check out the next video that will highlight the 8 steps of the Career Launch method.
Yeah, great. And this is one of 12 of the videos that students will receive. There's no need to put a login or username. They will get a text message and go right into the video, or emailed right into the video as well. And some of the videos are animated, as you've seen, and some of them are talking head as well. So it's a mix, a match of the 12 videos to kind of give some unique diversity. So I don't know, Lori, could you share your screen? We're going to talk a little bit about certification, then we're going to talk about the inventory, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So as Lori pointed out, part of our professional development is we provide a 4-hour training for faculty and staff to interface with students to learn our curriculum and take it and roll it out either in a classroom setting or co-curricular in a student cohort. In the training, next slide. There's discussions about social and cultural capital and working with various student populations, really digging deep into our 8 steps framework to not only teach folks our curriculum, but also reasons why students should engage in this and the benefit that they get and the impact. And then the overall areas of how some of our partners are rolling out and implementing Career Launch on their given campus, and then talk about best practices to impact most of this, as many students as you can. And then it's a 4-hour training, as I mentioned. Typically, it's a Monday, Tuesday, 2 hours, or a Thursday, Friday. In the training, we have about 10 to 12 folks that participate in our training from various campuses across the country. If there's 8 or more, we can do a private session. And then every first Wednesday of the month, we provide community of practice for everyone that's been certified to talk about best practices, share ideas, or even highlight an institution that's really doing great work. So with that, I'll turn it to Lori to kind of talk about our NACE Career Readiness Inventory a little bit more in depth.
Thanks, Johnny. So with the NACE Career Readiness Inventory, this is a new inventory that's come out recently that we created here to, it comes out of our new partnership with NACE. And one of the reasons that was created is because NACE always is interested in having students be assessed on the NACE 8 competencies. And those competencies can give students a sense of how they're doing in the career readiness area overall. So let me share just a couple of slides here with you about the Career Readiness Inventory. As I mentioned, this is a new partnership with NACE. I don't know if you're familiar with NACE, which is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. It's kind of like the major national association around career development. And the new inventory has been tested with 100+ schools and 600+ faculty, staff, and students. And then there's two options. You can assess students on the NACE 8 Career Readiness Competencies, or you can assess students on the NACE 8 Competencies plus social capital, life design, and career mobility. And we've had a host of people around the table with us in the last year who have been helping us build out the Career Readiness Inventory. And most clearly, Arizona State, who has been our main prototyping partner. And there's a few ways to use the Career Readiness Inventory. With TRIO programs, they're using it typically, as we mentioned, in the immersive experience. They can also use the inventory at scale across the TRIO programs with all TRIO students. And then you can also use it across the entire campus. So there's a couple of different ways to use that. Additionally, it can be used for students who are having a work experience. So maybe a student employee or some students that are having internships, so that you can assess their career readiness over time. And in that case, with the work experience, the supervisor of the student also can assess the student on the NACE 8 competencies at the end of that experience. There's reports that students can download to see how they're doing, and there's also a back end dashboard that you have access to, so you can see all the data. But I just wanted to let you know that's another piece that's available to you if you were interested in beyond the immersive experience, maybe assessing students throughout all of your TRIOs programs, or even across the entire university. So, well, that's a lot of words that we've used. It'd be great to take a little break here and open it up for Q&A. Definitely would love to hear any questions that you have, anything that was raised for you. I'll just open that up now. And also, if you'd like to learn more, maybe we're happy to connect with you, and feel free to click that link, and or I'll drop in a QR code here too that you can scan if you wanted to be in touch with us. But happy to open it up for questions. And Robin, I don't know if anything came to mind for you as you were listening in, because I know you had a chance to meet with us earlier, and so something might have popped out for you this time.
Well, Lori, one of the things I told you I was going to do is send you our CPPs just so you'd know about the career aspect, and I didn't get that to you in time, but I'm putting them in the chat right now just as a reminder for all our colleagues about how those CPPs could align to this if you were wanting to. So I just put SSS in, and now I'm going to do the 2 pre-college programs. And of course, we don't know yet what's going to come for the next round for Talent Search or Upward Bound, but at this point, these are the ones we have. So I just wanted to pop those in, but please, everyone, go ahead with your questions. I will just pop these in the chat.
And don't be shy, we'll answer anything, and you can pop it in the chat. You can raise your hand or unmute yourself. We're happy to take questions either way.
It looks like there's a question in the chat from Luana wanting to know, what if you have students who have graduated and are still seeking employment? So that is something that's going to be outside of SSS, because we can't serve students that are no longer students officially.
Right, in that TRIO, with that
Right.
TRIO funding. If there were additional funds, other pockets of funding on campus, we've had universities and colleges using it with students who have just graduated and maybe haven't landed a position yet, or didn't have enough time while they were a student to get their pieces together. And so running a cohort with those students in June, July, August, whatever that might be, but that would be outside of TRIO funding.
Yeah, career centers often will help the alumni, so that would be the place to turn for those students. I guess one of the things I would love to know from our participants is, and you don't need to say right now, but if you can just let me know if this is something you're interested in. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that that OTA can partner with Career Launch to see if there's any way we can do a more mass connection for this, if this is something you were wanting to bring to your students, in whether it's through that inventory or through the curriculum for pre-college or college. So you can put stuff in the chat or just email me later, whatever you would like. So we're just trying to see how this could support all of you in meeting those CPPs and other services, permissible services.
And to that point, Robin, it's interesting. I was on a call with a TRIO program this morning who is just coming on board with us, and they were like, "We are so excited." The director has been there for 24 years, and she said, "You know, I was realizing we haven't really changed our programming since 2010, and we need new and fresh resources to bring to students." And so they were saying, that's what we're so grateful that we kind of ran across Career Launch and are excited to begin something new with our students. So you might be feeling that way too, just like trying the same thing over and over each year. What is new that can be brought to the forefront for students? I might ask, maybe I'll just ask the group. Oh, great, Pam. That's good. I'm glad to hear that you're working with them. That's great. I'd be interested to hear from, maybe put into the chat, are you talking with students about these kinds of activities, like how to have a relationship with a professional, how to create a relationship with a professional? Have you been working with that with your students on anything like that? Andres, I know, I think we all feel like I'm not as much as I should. If in a perfect world, Andres, what might it look like for you?
In a perfect world, I'd say at least for sure all of my seniors, and then I'd say more than half of my caseload, but for sure all of my seniors are prepared. Juniors already have like some sort of understanding, and then freshmen, sophomore, just kind of like a little hint there, a little sprinkle, but for sure juniors and seniors.
Definitely. I always say early and often when it comes to career, because you plant seeds early on, and we've actually seen the curriculum work great from that high school level to a graduating student. And also we have veteran programs that are running this. So, you know, it's not bound by an actual age limit either. Oh, Davila, that's great to hear. Yeah, that you're working with the on a course for TRIO. That's great. Love to hear that.
Amy, I was just talking with Michelle this morning, emailing, and she was saying that she's working with your program now and hosting these. I was like, oh, that's so great. I was trying to get her to do it with OTA, but we'll start with you. Now I'm just jealous.
Yeah, it's great to hear, Chris, that you're touching on it in the first year seminar. I think that's a great spot to launch with that. Get them thinking about it. One of the things I feel like Career Launch did for my students was making them feel like they belonged in the room, that they belonged in these conversations. I think so often some students feel like I don't even know how to access this. I don't even know if I belong here. It's, you know, just feeling not the confidence. But once they learn a process that they can take and just do for themselves forever and ever, then it really starts to build their confidence. Yeah, even being afraid to approach instructors, that's so true, S Church. It's just, yeah, it's nerve-wracking to think about how am I going to approach and have this conversation. I have an intern right now from Seattle Pacific University, actually, and he took he did Career Launch on campus last year, and I've been so impressed by him over the summer, because he came in with some rough edges, but he just continues to reach out to professionals. I don't tell him to reach out to professionals. He's just been doing it all summer long and following and tracking that and really making a nice pathway for himself. I know, Mariella, you had mentioned, hey, you became a civil engineer and you never talked to a civil engineer in your life.
Yes, I realize the importance of as many YouTube videos as I watched, I still wouldn't get a great sense of a certain company or even the field of civil engineering until I talked to an actual person within the field. And so I'm glad I did my internship that came about because of my career conversation, because I likely would have had my hard hat right now and maybe not be waking up as excited, but that's just, we know careers aren't linear. And so the earlier we can have our students figure that out, whether they're in high school, early on in college, right, the better alignment they'll have. And even this process of job searching and landing internships might feel most doable. So I don't see any more questions in the chat, and just really want to express gratitude. Thank you, Robin, for the invitation for us to join today. And thank you for those who filled out the form. We'll be following up with you, and hope we can help support your TRIO programs. And you're welcome to reach out to us as well. We can drop our contact info in the chat, but hope everyone has a great rest of your Tuesdays. Maybe you'll continue to use the last 7 minutes here, but if not, it was great to spend time with you all today. So thanks again.
Marielle, I'll be sending out the Zoom recording as well to everybody, so I can put in all of your contact information into that email as well.
Thank you, Robin. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Everyone,
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
joining
Thank you.
us.
Patient, appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
See you, Jeff. Bye.
Thanks,
Good
Robin.
to see you
Bye.
all.
Great to see you all.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, buddy.